when a liberal TV host attempted to ambush Donald Trump with probing questions about his marriage on live television. She had no clue it would turn into the biggest mistake of her career. But before we jump in, drop a comment below and let me know where you're tuning in from. It was prime time, a major network, and millions watching live. The host had built a reputation for her gotcha moments with conservative guests, and tonight, she believed she had set the perfect trap. Her team had spent weeks crafting loaded questions designed to embarrass Trump and undermine his family values. But what she didn't realize was that she was about to walk into a moment that would change her career forever. As the cameras rolled, Trump sat there, calm and composed, while the host put on that signature fake smile, the kind media elites wear when they think they're about to destroy someone's reputation. 3, 2, 1. What happened next wouldn't just shatter her career. It would show America what it truly means to stand up for real family values. It all started with what seemed like an innocent question. Mr. Trump, you've built an empire, become president, and influenced millions. Would you say it's all just luck? She delivered the line with that practiced smirk, the kind that makes you wonder what's really hiding behind it. But Trump? He'd seen this game before. Start soft, then twist the knife. He leaned in slightly, his expression a mix of confidence and amusement. You know, it's interesting that you ask that, Trump responded, his voice calm and measured. Liberals love that word, luck. They use it to downplay success, as if hard work and sacrifice don't matter. But let me tell you something about luck. It doesn't build skyscrapers. It doesn't create thousands of jobs. And it sure doesn't make America great. You could see it in the host's eyes. This wasn't the defensive response she had been hoping for. But she wasn't ready to back down. Tightening her smile just slightly, she pressed forward. So, you're saying everything you've achieved is purely through hard work? Trump's voice grew stronger, his words cutting through the tension. What I'm saying is that success belongs to those who earn it. Yes, I've been blessed, but I've also worked harder than most people could imagine. I've had nights with no sleep, deals that seemed impossible, challenges that would have broken many others. But here's the truth, I never did it alone. The host's eyebrows lifted slightly. There it was. The opening she thought she'd been waiting for. Not alone, she repeated, her voice dripping with false curiosity. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about the people behind Donald Trump. Trump nodded. Of course. When you say people behind me, you're probably thinking of my business partners, my advisors. But let me tell you who really deserves the credit, my family. Especially Melania. The host's expression shifted ever so slightly, like a predator sensing weakness. She thought she'd found her angle. Ah, yes. Melania, she said, her voice taking on a calculated tone. Many people wonder about her role in all of this. Some say she's rather quiet for such a powerful man's wife. Trump's eyes narrowed slightly. The air in the studio grew heavy with tension. Quiet? No. Dignified? Yes. And there's a big difference. Though I understand why some in the media might struggle to grasp that concept. A nervous chuckle rippled through the audience. The host shifted in her chair, clearly not expecting this level of pushback. But still, she pressed on, her tone turning falsely concerned. Well, what I mean is we rarely hear from her, unlike other political wives who are more visible. Don't you think the public deserves to know more about the woman behind Donald Trump? Trump's voice carried a mix of pride and protective steel. The public, he said, knows exactly what they need to know about Melania. She's brilliant, accomplished, and chooses her moments carefully. Unlike some who feel the need to fill every silence with noise. The audience murmured in approval. The host's practiced smile faltered, realizing her usual tactics were failing. But instead of backing off, she pushed harder. Let's talk about those accomplishments, she said, her tone sharpening. Because some wonder if her biggest achievement is simply being Mrs. Donald Trump. The temperature in the room dropped. Trump's expression hardened. Even the cameraman exchanged glances. What happened next would become one of the most talked about moments in television history. Let's be very clear, Trump said, leaning forward. Since you want to talk about achievements, let's talk facts. Melania speaks 5 languages fluently. She's built her own successful career. She's represented this country with more grace and dignity than any first lady in recent memory. But you wouldn't know about that, would you? Because the mainstream media is too busy pushing their own narrative. The host, sensing she was losing control, tried a different approach. Of course, Mr. Trump, but wouldn't you say that being married to you has opened certain doors for her? Trump chuckled, but there was no humor in it. You know what's interesting about that question? It exposes exactly what's wrong with how some people think. Success isn't about doors being opened. It's about what you do once you're in the room. And Melania? She doesn't just walk through doors. She transforms every room she enters. The audience burst into applause. The host's face flushed as she realized her narrative was crumbling. But then, she made her biggest mistake yet. Well, since you mentioned standing by your side, she said, her voice growing bolder, let's talk about that. The constant spotlight, the scrutiny, the pressure. Don't you think that's challenging for someone who never sought this kind of attention? Trump's voice carried a controlled intensity. You know what's really challenging? Watching the media twist everything into their own narrative. Melania didn't just adapt, she thrived. And she did so despite constant attacks from people who claim to champion women's empowerment. The host leaned forward, sensing vulnerability. But the pressure must be enormous. The constant travel, public appearances, some might say it's almost like a golden cage. Trump's eyebrows lifted. A golden cage? That's interesting. Tell me, why is it that strong, independent women are celebrated until they happen to be conservative? Then suddenly, they must be trapped? The audience erupted in murmurs. The host's composure cracked. And, in that moment, she realized she had lost.